Hello and welcome to Views from the Sideline. It's June 5th, 2018, and we have some hoops to talk about. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Pappas, along with Malik Hill. Malik, what's going on?
It's great to be back. That intro felt good, but it also felt bad because it reminded me of what's happening right now with
Well,
our
they're
beloved
talking about-
Pistons.
But they're talking about good stuff right now. And then there's the other co-host across the
Hey.
desk. Oh, it's Joey. Hey, Joey.
What's up?
Nothing much. I guess there was a couple, big games happening in the NBA the past week or so that we've been off the
you
air.
could say they're kind of.
And I heard there were
kind of
some
big
kind of like
time, yeah.
crazy things that happened. I'm not quite sure about that, but something like
Hill misses. Rebound goes to the Cavs. J.R. Smith brings it back out. Throws it to Hill. Hill shot blocked. And we'll go to overtime.
yeah, that's JR not shooting the ball after getting an offensive rebound and letting them go to overtime because he forgot the score and thought they were winning.
Just added to the list of his greatest plays. Greatest J. This is why he's so great.
This is why he's the
JR moment. This is why we love JR.
and this is why he will be the MVP of Shaqtin' a Fool for years to come. I mean, he is he's the Michael Jordan of Shaqtin' a Fool.
He'll be the finals
he's
MVP when the
greatest.
Warriors win.
That's
He
right.
should get
We
the trophy.
finally have competition for JaVale McGee in Shaqtin' Fool.
I know. And
And they're against each other in the finals.
did you guys see the Oracle crowd game 2 they booed everybody, but when J.R. Smith got called, they gave him a standing ovation. And then every time he went to the free throw line, they chanted MVP for J.R. Smith.
That is
It was
class.
great. It reminded me of a student section in college basketball. It was really good.
I honestly thought that was awesome because I know it sucks to be J.R. Smith right now. Like I will never know what that feels like, and I can already tell it's a terrible feeling, but it's still funny. It's still really
yeah,
fun.
I mean, he'll go home. He'll sit at his big old house with his nice old cars, and he'll forget about it. Honestly,
I'm sure he
And
already forgot about
I'm
it.
sure he doesn't even care. He's the type of. I mean, actually, take that back. I'm sure he cares, but at the same time, it won't take him long to get over it.
Yeah, so we're going to jump into the finals to start off the show, but just to give you guys the rundown of what we're going to talk about today. We're talking finals, games 1 and 2, mostly game 1. Brian Colangelo and the secret burner accounts. LeBron controversy that kind of came out yesterday. We talked Pistons parting ways with a member of their front office, and along with the finalists for the head coaching job. We'll talk some NBA draft. We'll talk some Boston Celtics. We'll get all into that at the end of the show. But yeah, let's get right back into game 1. You want to start with this JR thing? Or you want to build up?
Do you want to
it?
go back to
Yeah,
just
let's-
before that?
You got to start
There's-
with LeBron.
Yeah,
there's
we
a-
did.
there's a
You're
few
right.
It
plays
was
The
all
fact-
about LeBron.
The
before
crazy
that.
thing about this is what JR did overshadows what LeBron's greatness was that game. The dude scored 51 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. If he won that game, that would have been his best win of his career. He looked like the greatest player of all time
It just goes to show you
in
that
game 1.
if you don't win, it doesn't matter.
You're
Yeah,
right.
True.
If you're not
Very
first,
true.
you're last.
Or second.
No,
Because
you're
he is
last.
second.
Wow.
I mean, he didn't win the game, so I can't argue. But
It's what I expected from LeBron.
LeBron did not choke that
he's-
game away. Don't you put
I'm
that
not
hand on
saying-
LeBron.
I'm not saying he choked it away. I'm just saying, I'm not talking about the choking part. I'm talking about the 51. He's a top 3 player of all time. When you're up, he has about 6 or 7 years left in his career. When you were
The fact that he's going on to
Yes.
year 16 and we think he has 6 or 7 years says
Yes.
everything you need
when
to know about
when
his
you're
stability.
already in the top 3 tier all time of basketball players, I expect you to play at a level that most people won't. Just
And-
is insane.
But he did.
And him scoring 51 in game 1, although it's crazy to me, it was just you have to do that.
But he did. I know he did do what he said. He played out of his mind. Yet his team still found a way to unravel a fantastic game for him.
Can't trust him.
George,
Can't trust him.
let's go back to. Yeah, J.R. Smith did the offense, got the offensive rebound, forgot to shoot the ball. George Hill, an 82% free throw shooter, he missed a free throw. He short armed it bad too.
hmm
He hit the first one. I thought he was gonna have the second one for sure. He looked like he was
Usually,
locked
yeah.
in.
Usually, when you hit the first one, it's like, okay, you're good. Second one's easy,
Seemed like he had the yips a little bit
but
to me.
apparently not.
Yeah, but
And you go back before to the charge block controversy.
yep.
Okay, let's go around the table
Yeah,
real
let's
quick.
do that, Joe.
Chris,
Yeah.
charge or block?
In real time, I thought it was a block. I thought it was a charge in real time, but looking back, I thought it was a block.
Okay.
And I thought they were going to change the call.
Malik, charge or block?
Honestly, I would have went no call.
You have to make
let
it.
it
You
go.
have no. Don't take the
Yeah.
cop out.
No,
Don't take the
listen,
cop out.
There
It's-
are sometimes
I do somewhat agree with you, but I
listen,
felt like
when it's not a huge amount of contact.
I
but
felt like
there
there
was
was
a
enough.
decent amount of
They're in
contact.
betweens to me. To me, it didn't seem like it was enough to really blow the whistle.
I
I,
didn't think
would
there
have
was-
just let it go.
I didn't think there was enough to overturn the call.
Yeah.
Because they can only the way the review works, it's not that they're reviewing if it's a charge or a block by rule of him like leaning into the player. It's if his feet are close enough to the circle. That's what triggers that replay. But when you get to the replay, you can also see if LeBron is still moving, and he is still moving.
And they just recently changed that rule.
Yep.
So in real time, I felt like it was a block. I felt like LeBron was moving too much, and the problem is that I don't think the call should have been overturned because the way that the refs did it was really kind of scummy, in my opinion.
Why is that?
Because, and I've listened to a lot of different opinions on it, but the way that, like you said, they have to decide if LeBron is in the restricted area or not. And that's what they can review. And then they just changed the rule to where if they do go into that review, then they can decide if they want to change the call or not. I felt like in real time, there was no way he was in the restricted area.
Yeah,
He was
I agree with
definitely
that.
out. So I felt like there should have been no way that they could
Review it.
review the call. And then they did. So then I felt like at that point that they shouldn't have been able to overturn it because the call on the floor was a charge. It didn't seem like it was enough evidence to change it to a block. Granted, because I think it was on Get Up on ESPN, they talked about the rule officially states that you just have to be in legal guarding position. It doesn't matter if you're moving or not. Granted, back when I
still
played,
plays a factor though.
right? And when I played, I was always taught to stand still, stand your ground, hold your position, and not be leaning. Which LeBron was clearly kind of leaning out of the way, going away from contact from Kevin Durant, which is kind of funny in my opinion. But the way the whole thing went down was not good, I think, for those NBA referees. I think they ultimately got the call right, but the way that they did it was wrong.
I 100% agree with that.
So I can understand LeBron's frustration for it, and I kind of feel bad, but at the same time, they blew other opportunities. Obviously, like you said, George Hill with the missed free throw, JR with who knows what he's thinking.
JR being JR.
Not actually knowing the score and anything. So, I mean, there was a lot of chances that the Cavs had, and then they let it get to them in overtime. Like, when I think of great players, I think like when LeBron has had such a good game, and then you feel like you've gotten everything taken away from you. Don't you think you would get mad and try to really assert yourself in overtime? Whereas he did the opposite. He kind of went away. I understand like it's very deflating as a team to see that happen, that you could have probably easily won that game. And I know that the calls were maybe not always in their favor, but I felt like LeBron should have taken it upon himself to go at the Warriors at that point and be mad that they were in a position like that they shouldn't have even been in overtime in the first place.
Well, I think he was just completely unraveled and just down because if you think about it, before the whole George Hill free throw and the JR offensive rebound, LeBron made a strong move to the basket, got fouled, finished over Draymond Green for the and one to go up one. He made the free throw, so they're up 2 with about 30 seconds left.
36.
And Steph, then they have of course, a lull defensively. Steph gets right to the basket and it's an and one. I think LeBron was just overwhelmed with like, what else can I do? I can't do anything else, and we just can't beat this team. I think he honestly got to the point of there's nothing more I can do.
Yeah, and that's where like I feel like
even in game 2, we're not going to fast track into game 2 just yet, but I just want to bring it up to back up my point. He didn't look aggressive in game 2. He looked like he was tired. He didn't go up to dunk once, and that says a lot about LeBron in the NBA Finals. That dude always is trying to make a point and jam on someone. But he didn't attack the basket strong at all. He seemed to defer to his teammates, which isn't the right thing to do, especially if you're Cleveland this time. He he seems like he is starting to check out of Cleveland.
And he still had, what, 29,
Yeah.
Well, it was like
8, and
29,
11 or
13, yeah.
something, somewhere near triple-double like usual. So he still got his normal game done. But I think that's the problem with that so many people have when they compare Michael Jordan to LeBron, is that mentality that he seems to shy away from things at sometimes, and he gets frustrated, which I understand. Like, his team is not playing to their potential. Malik's favorite word. And they're just not playing to their talent level, and that's definitely frustrating for LeBron to have willed his team to the finals like he has, and then his teammates just can't step up for 1 or 2 games. Kevin Love's doing his thing,
Or 1 or 2
but-
moments in a game.
but Kevin Love is not that kind of
He's
guy.
not what he used to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not going to take over a game, especially when he has LeBron on his team. So he's going to be more of a jump shooter and a rebounder. But I don't know. Their talent is just, it's not stepping up to the plate. I think Stephen A. Smith even said that he thinks that the Cavs should bench J.R. Smith. And I would be totally okay with that.
Why-
I feel like that
I
would
was just about to bring that
I was-
up. I'm gonna go further. Well, I'm just gonna go with bench Jr. I was about to say they need to DNP him and just sit him behind the bench
No,
because he doesn't even
no.
deserve to suit up. Listen,
Yes, he does. He's playing solid defensively.
J.R. Smith does not know what's happening right now.
We understand.
After game 1, he said,
Cut the
"I
man
knew
some
how."
slack.
He said, "I knew how much time was on the clock." The next day, he said, "You could never know how much time was on the clock." Where is Jr. right now?
Okay.
Where's his head?
He's
So
trying
while-
to cover his track.
While we're back on
Jr.
the
doesn't know what's
I
happening.
know.
JR thing, let's talk about some new footage that came out this morning about the huddle before going into overtime at the end of regulation, where J.R. Smith and LeBron were sitting on the bench, and LeBron looks at Tyronn Lue and asks, "Did we have a timeout?" What is your guys' take on that?
I think he was more upset at Tyronn Lue at the time than JR.
You think so?
I think so, because in that situation, it's Lue's. He's got to be prepared to call that timeout to avert JR from doing anything stupid, you know?
But don't you take into some account that LeBron didn't know his timeouts?
LeBron will say it's not his. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's great players should know these things, but he could say, that's not my duty. I'm worried about other stuff on the court. Coach should know if we have a timeout and should call a timeout. I think that him being so upset, the more I watched it, because at first I thought it was the whole JR situation. The more I watch it, the more I'm inclined to think that LeBron was extremely frustrated with the coaching and Tyronn Lue, and Lue not being prepared and ready to call that timeout as soon as JR gets that ball. And I think it's just boiled over frustration from JR not shooting the ball, and then Tyronn Lue not getting the call or not calling a timeout when they found out they had one.
Start Jordan Clarkson.
You have
Play
any-
Rod-
What's your take
even,
on the?
Even though Rodney Hood, it seems like he doesn't have much heart and anything inside, but you have to play Rodney Hood and start Jordan Clarkson because he does much more than J.R. Smith.
What's your take on the whole thing though? On the whole timeout situation of LeBron blowing up? Does that take anything away from what you think of LeBron? Like he didn't keep his demeanor cool, calm, and collected. He got visibly frustrated and visibly upset with whoever ended up.
I think that was my biggest problem, is that the way that he did it, and he threw his hands on his head, and
He kind of threw for a minute.
shaking-
It was like a little tantrum.
yeah, a little kid's tantrum.
Well,
which
if I was
I
him,
understand.
I'd be that frustrated too. But you can't.
So you're okay with that?
You can't visibly show that.
So you're
in
not
front
okay
of-
with it?
I'm not okay with it, but everybody else, LeBron fans are going to be okay with it because he's going through so much, and he has a horrible team, and they have no yada yada yada.
It's
all
true
that.
though.
Stop it, LeBron
he-
fan.
It's
He-
true.
you sound like
I'm just
a LeBron lover.
But I respect greatness, Malik. First
I
of all,
respect Gert. He's the
I don't
second
think
greatest
you
player to
do.
ever live. He's
his
right
career's
there.
not over yet. We'll have to decide that when the time comes.
I think the biggest problem too is, like, he's supposed to be the face, the leader, and he's throwing that tantrum. Again, that goes back to that deflates the whole team.
Demoralize
when
them.
the team sees that, they're like, "Oh man, this guy that just dropped 51, he knows we're gonna lose in
He's
overtime."
always been a crybaby.
So that's
Malik is just such a LeBron hater right now.
so
He
that's-
always has been a crybaby.
I think it's
It's
just
true.
the era of basketball. I think.
I mean,
You are right. It is the era of basketball.
Yeah.
and the way that players are molded.
Continue, Joey. Sorry we had to go sidetrack there.
It's okay. It's great. But you can't have your star player and your leader having those kind of tantrums. I understand, like, there's definite frustration from all sides, but he's got to take a little bit of accountability in this. And obviously, you want your coach to be the main person to keep track of timeouts, but as a player, you should too. And it's always like coaches are always telling you time, score, possession. You need to know all of these things because you don't want to turn out like Chris Webber. You don't want to have that.
JR just that is a
Right.
That JR moment is like a Chris Webber.
It's right up there. The problem is it's in a best of 7 series. It's not the same magnitude, but yes.
I mean, in my opinion, Cleveland needed to win that game.
The airheadedness of that play.
Well, Cleveland needed to win that game to have any shot in the series because you get that close and you lose off, forgive me for a better term, utter stupidity. You're not winning. They're going to get swept. I guarantee they get swept.
Yep.
They're not winning a game.
That's why I was kind of mad because I was hoping that Chris's pick would be wrong because he said they would sweep. I was like, oh man, they're gonna win game 1.
I was happy too. I wanted to see it was competitive basketball. I was happy.
I have one more thing to say about LeBron, and it may seem like more hate.
It's probably. I
Chris,
guarantee you, it's hate.
But for as high as LeBron's IQ is, his knowledge of the game, LeBron knows how the game is played and what's going to happen throughout an entire game, first to fourth quarter. How do you not have your team ready? Although we've seen they're not consistent. LeBron, you're almost a better coach than Tyronn Lue, in my opinion.
No, he is. He is.
How does JR not know how much time is on the clock? Why aren't you like in the huddle? Why aren't you telling your team like you go here? This much time is left. Like why isn't LeBron doing this? He's the leader. He is Cleveland.
He is.
Why isn't LeBron?
I may be sure. I wouldn't maybe go that far because if you look while on the free throw line, JR is trying to signal to Tyronn Lue, and I mean other players definitely had to have heard him or seen him. He's definitely signaling to them, "Hey, what's going on?" He has his hands up clearly in some of the video, so you wonder like what necessarily he was asking. But yeah, to a point, LeBron maybe should make sure that everybody knows what's going on. But at the same time, like they got to take responsibility for themselves.
I always see them communicating on the court, but then after they communicate, something will fall apart, and they'll all just look at each other with their hands up, like nobody knew what was happening. That's the main thing for me.
I have a question that just came to me. Why is there no scoreboard for JR to look up to? Like there's like these projectors around the whole
no, there's
Oracle.
multiple.
Like, you don't know. Okay, what? Yeah, you don't know the timer or score. Look up at the scoreboard.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe he might have just been asking, like, what do we want to do?
Okay,
depending
even
on
if
what
it's
tied,
tied, you still don't pull it out and just dribble out.
No,
clock.
I'm just saying.
JR isn't
I'm playing devil's advocate.
I understand.
All he thinks is give me the ball and I'm shooting. That's probably all he thinks during the game.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't shooting.
Of all the moments of JR not to shoot the ball, that was the worst time. Like
that's because at that he didn't know he usually doesn't get rebounds when the clock goes.
The other
down,
thing
so
that was
he
a
didn't
really
know
good
what to do.
offensive rebound.
It
by
was.
JR.
The other thing too that people were saying is that if he knew that he should have went up with it, he had Kevin Durant right there.
Well,
and the other thing was that people were saying, oh, well, he could have pump faked Durant and then gone around. No, Durant's not going to jump on that because he can easily block J.R. Smith.
Durant might have fouled him if he jumped into him, but
I have nothing wrong with JR pulling the ball out.
Right.
Because once he pulled it out, the defense went to LeBron. If JR turns around, he is wide open for three.
Right.
And that's the shot that JR Smith
And he
wants.
becomes the hero of game 1.
He's there.
I bet he would have hit it too. Those are the types of shots JR really likes.
Yeah,
I
crazy.
bet he would have hit it.
That would have been awesome.
But his mind wasn't there, so yeah.
All right.
All right.
You guys want to talk about game 2 a little bit?
Yeah.
There's not much, but
there is still some because it was still a game up until the final 6 minutes of the game.
yeah, up until the fourth quarter, basically.
Steph Curry game. It's really.
I
the Steph game.
disagree with you. I think this game came down to Klay Thompson. Klay was Klay was questionable to play in this game. He was very close to not playing. Draymond Green even said post game, he texted Nick Young and said, "Hey, I'm gonna need big minutes out of you because Klay's not playing." Thompson played. He looked fantastic. I didn't even know he was injured. He didn't look injured at all.
You could see him hobble every once in a while, but like playing through an ankle sprain.
It was
like
a grade 2 high ankle sprain, which is
tough.
a couple weeks not supposed to play.
Yeah. I mean, me and Chris have twisted our ankle a fair share, but I mean,
ankles.
It's tough to do. Obviously, when you try to finish a game, it's not that hard. You got the adrenaline pumping, but as soon as you get off it, that next morning is rough. So for him to like warm up and get through that and get into game, once you're in the game, you're fine. But getting up to that point is really difficult. And for him to play as good as he did, like he played pretty much standard Clay.
And his style of play too. Clay's coming off screens. There's a lot of cutting action, and that's a lot of twisting and moving of your ankle, cutting down on screens. And even Clay's a high jumper too. He's not stationary on the ground shooting the 3-ball. He gets up in the air decently well. It didn't seem to affect him at all. And for Clay to have, I can double check it. I think it was like 20, 22 points.
Yeah, I think it's
But
20.
all of his shots were timely. He didn't overshoot the ball. And if you don't have Clay on the court, let's say he doesn't play, I think that's a different game. I truly do.
I give a lot of credit to Clay for playing through.
He
what
played 33
what might have
minutes.
been a bit of an injury, but because he played, if he plays, I assume he's good. He's well enough to run around and do the stuff that Clay does, and he's consistent. I will never doubt Klay Thompson when he's on the court because he's always going to make shots.
He's a tough dude.
Yeah, when Clay gets it done, it's not a surprise.
And again, in this game, it's crazy to say is that Kevin Durant was overshadowed. He shot 70.
He played really
70%
really
from the
good.
field.
71.
71.
He didn't take a lot of shots, but
but he was efficient. He looked good. He finally he had 7 or 8 assists, which he's struggled on the assists. 7? Okay, thank you. I knew it was 7 or 8. But he played really, really well. And again, Steph Curry, just the excitement of his play overshadows these two guys yet again.
You know what's funny to me? With all the star power that Golden State has, the Warrior fans truly, absolutely, truly love Steph Curry more than anybody else.
Because who said it too? I can't remember who said it, but I think it was Nick Wright. I hate that guy.
Okay, come on.
I'm just going to throw that out there.
He's
I'm sorry.
He's a fan of the show.
He's
all right?
funny to watch.
Nick,
though.
you're a fan of the show. He doesn't hate you. Come on, we'll talk.
He has
His
some
topics-
outlandish statements.
His things are interesting.
Yeah.
But he talked about how when the Warriors are making the run, Oracle erupts. When Steph Curry makes a run,
It's a different level.
it's insane. It's the most incredible thing in sports. And I agree. He's one of the most exciting players to watch.
He is.
When he hits those shots, like when he did against Kevin Love, where there's nothing left on the shot clock and he just heaves it up,
Yeah.
like that was insane.
silk, too.
But he's still in a shooting motion. It's still a Steph Curry shot. It's just crazy beyond the arc and kind of turning around and late in the shot clock. But, he practices that stuff as
And
a shooter.
You also have to think about Steph is the guy that going out of the Believe Warriors, the 07, 08, Steph was the player that really began the process of a new brand of Warriors. Steph was that top pick. Nobody really believed in him. He was getting hurt his for a few years.
It's very true.
Everybody knows Steph is the guy. And
He was almost a New York Knick.
Exactly. But because they're the Knicks, stuff like that doesn't happen. Shouts out to Jordan Hill, who they picked and isn't in the NBA anymore.
But yeah, this was a close game all the way through. And ultimately, it was Steph Curry. What do you have, 6 threes in the fourth quarter? I think.
In the
I wasn't sure how many he hit in the fourth. But
I think he
Yeah,
hit,
yeah,
I
he
think
did.
it was
Six.
6 in the fourth. I think he was
9
6
for the game.
He was I believe he was 6 for 18 through the first 3 quarters, and then in the fourth quarter is when he erupted.
9
And
of 17.
he finished 9 of 17 from the 3-point line. I can't remember what it was. I think he shot like 57%. But like for the first 3 quarters, Steph Curry wasn't that great. Luckily, Durant was incredible. And then Curry just, he has to have 1 quarter and he's good.
I won't even say Durant was incredible. He was just efficient to me, and he played within their offense.
He
and
did
that's
exactly what he needed
That's
to do.
exactly it. They didn't need Kevin Durant to be crazy Kevin Durant good. They need Kevin Durant to play the best Harrison Barnes role that he can. That's what they need Durant to do, especially when everybody's healthy. I think that's what they brought him here to do. He just buys in and plays.
I think
the best.
they moved Clay down to Harrison Barnes and Kevin Durant up. I think ultimately.
I mean, no one's really as bad as Harrison Barnes.
But he had his moments.
Draymond, I mean, I'd rather have Harrison Barnes offensively than Draymond
But
Green.
another big thing, too, is that in this game, we really got to see the Warriors' depth. They used a lot more weapons. JaVale McGee was
They finally
Started
started
JaVale.
JaVale McGee.
12
I've been wanting them to do that
12
for so
points.
Long. He's so much better than Kevon Looney. I
He
don't know what
started.
Steve
He was
Kerr-
4 of 4 from the field or something,
6
and
of
then
6.
He started off the game. He had the first 4 or 6 points.
Because here's another thing I want to talk about too. We're 2 games into the finals. They're kind of doing what we expected Cleveland, as I'm saying, Cleveland expected us. We expected Cleveland to do was to switch on every screen, and they just do it so poorly. Every time JaVale slipped the screen, didn't make contact with the other defender, wide open, not a player within 5 feet of him from any direction. If Cleveland's gonna have any shot at home, they need to tighten up their defense. Their defense is so porous right now.
Who do you blame for the defensive lapses?
The players.
I blame the coaches.
It's ultimately the
Who
players.
do you,
It's the players.
you say
I mean,
players, you say
and
coaches?
Okay, I can
It's
see
the
that.
players completely.
I think it's a
What are
combination.
the coaches are going
That's
to say, okay, you got to hedge your screens. You got to make sure that the switches are clean.
Yeah, you're right. I'd say the players.
The players got to take it
Yeah.
upon themselves to do
You're right.
that.
That's what
The
they-
coaches can only do so much.
Right.
They always communicate on the court, but then they mess up and
And it's
they
like,
just look at each other
that-
like,
that's like another thing. I was listening to First Take and they had Gary Payton on, and he was talking about the defense in these games, and they were asking, do you think it's right to switch on all these things? And Gary Payton said, no. He thinks
Why?
that people specifically need to really lock in on defense. And if you're getting caught by screens, that you have to hedge those screens and make sure you get over those screens and through them.
Easier said
If
than
you
done.
right, and if you have to switch, obviously you do it, but you don't just willy nilly switch like they've been doing. And that's like I said, what happens when teams just switch like that and they expect it? Every once in a while, they're going to miscue or something's going to happen, and there's going to be this gap. And players this day and age don't need much space to get off a shot.
I agree to disagree with the fact that you can do the not switching on 99% of the teams in the NBA. To beat the Golden State Warriors in this team, you need to switch everything. Houston had the perfect game plan. And so if Chris
and then
Paul doesn't go
got
down,
hurt. Yep.
they win that series.
We're not going back to that.
I'm just saying, because they played their switches properly. Cleveland doesn't. It's easy for Gary Payton to say and address that now because Cleveland just does such a poor job of switching. Go back and watch that Houston series. When they switched on everything, hedged on everything, and were communicating as a team defensively, it was beautiful to watch because they kept the Warriors in front of them.
And their man-to-man defense was a lot better. James
Exactly.
Harden did really good on Kevin Durant in that series, which blew me away.
I feel like it was more Houston players buying in, saying we need to beat them defensively. We're not going to outshoot them. We need to stop them.
That's where I think Chris Paul comes in.
And
He's an alpha
yeah,
dog. He's a
I agree
leader.
with you.
He is the guy.
I agree
that's
with you
gonna go.
because Chris Paul gives you that little bit of a leadership, especially on the court.
But that's what I'm saying too. Like people tend to shy away from certain man-to-man situations, and I think that that's the wrong idea. Like I said, especially like on the other side, you look at the Warriors, like how I was saying in Game 1 that they just allowed Steph Curry to take Durant, and it wasn't even a tough
Steph Curry to take
or
LeBron.
and they just allowed it to happen. They didn't try to fight over the screen or anything. They just, as soon as they saw the screen, they're like, okay, we're switching. I think that's the wrong mentality. I
I
understand
can
what
see
you're
that.
saying. There's certain times that you have to switch, but if it's a weak screen, just get over it. You're going to clog up that space more than if you try to switch and you give them that room, that opportunity to mess something up on the screen. So I think that you got to kind of give and take a little bit of both. And I just think that obviously it's on the players, in my opinion, that they need to just step up on defense. That's why you see back in the day, obviously it's a different game, but like the 04 Pistons, for example, they committed to playing defense. And it's like you said, players have to commit and they have to buy in to the defensive scheme and the system for it to work.
I will also say, though, back in the day, even in 2004, it was much easier to play great defense because you could hand check, you could bump players.
Right. That's what I'm saying. A
And
little
the
bit of difference.
NBA, after seeing how well the Pistons played defensively and used those rules, they changed them. You can't do that anymore. You can't touch anybody anymore.
This is ridiculous.
And I agree, it takes a needed physicality out of basketball, which I don't care for. And that's why I think college basketball, when it comes to tournament time, maybe beats out the NBA because they allow physical play more so than the NBA does. NBA will pick and choose when they allow physical play.
And the other thing I want to point out, too, is that Cleveland didn't really adapt in Game 2. They looked sluggish from the get-go. Obviously, that branches from LeBron. But the Warriors immediately adapted in game 2, and you kind of knew they would. But after seeing LeBron score 51 points, they definitely made it more of a cause to try to trap and double team LeBron in certain situations. You saw Draymond Green pick him up full court a couple times. Like, that just shows that they're committed, like, hey, nobody else is going to beat us.
Well,
So let's try to stop LeBron. That's opposite of my thinking typically. But the way that this series, I mean, it's only 2 games, but the way it's gone so far, it makes sense for them to do that.
I think like the Draymond picking up, I think it all comes down to your personnel to play certain defenses and play a certain style. Like, we even saw it with Golden State in game 2. When Jordan Bell picked up LeBron full court, he made stupid mistakes. He fouled him early while they're in the penalty a couple times, or allowed LeBron to pass him in the full court. But when you have Draymond Green, a better player, pick him up full court, it works out better.
Right.
To play that for Cleveland's side of things compared to Houston, and they're switching, Cleveland just doesn't have players, like you said, that are committed to playing defense properly or want to do it properly or even know how to. It just all comes down to your personnel. And LeBron and the Cavs don't have the talent to compete with the Warriors.
Yep. And it's a lack of effort, too. Like, you got to,
That plays in the personnel
you
part,
can't
though.
just, yeah, I know. So, all right, moving forward, what do you guys think about the rest of the series? You still think it's a sweep?
Of course, I still think it's a sweep. But
Malik? Okay.
before we do that, though, before we just say what our kind of predictions are, I'm kind of taking your question and making a question out of it, Joe.
Okay.
But what do the Cavaliers need to change to adjust game plan wise? Not just play harder, play better defense, but what do they need to adjust game plan wise to have a chance in Cleveland?
They need to change their lineup completely. It's kind of like Malik was starting to talk about.
Why is Kyle Korver not playing many minutes?
That was my big point. Kyle Korver was huge in the last series for them.
He's playing very well defensively.
And he's not really playing in this series. It doesn't make sense. I think they're a little bit afraid of the matchups for Korver
Why,
in
though?
this
He's
series.
playing well defensively.
But you need something at this point. And, like, Rodney Hood needs to get in the game.
Yeah,
I don't care.
Start Clarkson, play Rodney.
I don't care.
Clarkson
about,
is the worst basketball player on this whole team.
Yeah, he hasn't really
listen,
proved
The
himself.
fact the Lakers got a first-round pick for them, hats off to LA.
He just has
If
not
you give
played
Jordan
well.
Clarkson the ball and say score, he can give you 13 or 14.
He hasn't.
Did you
in
watch?
this.
But
Oh
they-
yeah, I
but-
was gonna
but
say,
they-
did you watch Game 1? But no, he didn't.
But players that go and play with LeBron have to play a different style of basketball. You can't play the same. In LA, there's a reason why Jordan Clarkson could average like 18 or 19. If you just hand him the ball and say, go get a bucket, he can do it. But they just won't let him do it.
Jordan Clarkson has also never played on this stage in this
Very
level of
true.
competition.
Very true.
I think
it's more so a little bit of the yips with Jordan Clarkson. I think he looks nervous out there to me.
Yeah.
Like he's pressing too much.
he's played very poorly.
I think it's a really good learning experience for him. I think he's way better player than what he's shown.
yeah.
And I think he will continue to improve based on just these experiences he's had this season. But I just don't think it's the right call to go Clarkson in this series.
I think they need to get over like I said, I think they need to get over the Rodney Hood drama, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I think he needs to play just look at his build. It works against the Warriors, his size
He's going to give you 11 or 12 points.
and his ability. Come on. You got to try him at this point. I know early on he wasn't working out, but just the talent that he was playing or level of talent that he was playing at in Utah before, I think is deserving to at least give him a chance in this big stage. Maybe he'll be a key guy. I think he definitely could be their third scorer. I don't see why not.
The defense might be worse, but he'll add to the scoring.
And it's about to get worse though, because Iguodala is apparently cleared, and that
It's
he's going to
questionable.
be.
He is questionable.
He's pretty close either way. And if he plays for sure, that's just another body on LeBron.
Problems.
That's just
And-
another body they throw at LeBron.
And Ty Lue, he said, I think at shoot around today that he's going to give Rodney Hood a look, but I'm pretty sure he said that in shoot around heading into game 2 and didn't play Rodney Hood. Malik, is there any adjustments that you can think of that the Cavs can do to make it more of a series?
I mean, besides playing your younger guys, and you don't really know what's going to happen when you throw them in because they haven't really showed you a whole bunch, but you have to try something at this point.
So
you don't throw out your entire game plan, but you have to change a lot of things, including playing your second most consistent player, Kyle Korver.
Yeah, I
You
agree
have
with that.
to do that.
Who's another player you'd want to see get more minutes?
I would say Jose Calderon because he is.
I think offensively,
He-
Jose could give
yeah.
them something.
He is very, very smart. He still has a nice jumper. He'd be a liability on defense, but
I think he
who on
would
that
be
team
even
isn't a
worse.
liability on defense?
I think he would be the worst though liability on defense though. That's the biggest problem because he's either going to be guarding Steph Curry, which we've seen is playing pretty good this
I
series,
love when Kevin Love guards Steph Curry.
And
It's
then-
so funny to watch.
or who does he guard? Sean Livingston.
You can't guard.
That's
Sean
not going to
Livingston.
work. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, the matchups just aren't there. I mean, it's the fact that this Cavalier team got to the finals. I don't understand how. I really don't. I mean, the East, I guess, is weak. They were young, weak Eastern Conference.
I have a theory, but like I said,
I know
it's-
Malik's gonna say it's corrupt, and the NBA is wanting.
But see, that's
LeBron in
the other thing.
finals.
Like
Listen,
people are saying the NBA is rigged, and then when you get to the finals, everybody's like, "Oh, the NBA is rigged for the Warriors." Wouldn't the greater storyline be if
That-
LeBron
Yeah.
won this
That's
series?
what I say.
That's where I think it's nonsense. But where I think Cleveland is going to win one game and maybe even the next two in Cleveland, because I don't think they'll
Wow.
let LeBron get swept in the finals.
If they weren't gonna let LeBron get swept, they know heading into this series that they are severely undermanned. Why do they go change the call from charge to block? There's a lot of I just don't buy into it because coming into the series they'll be lucky to win one game. So why wouldn't the NBA hand them game one when they put themselves in a situation?
Because then it's too obvious.
Look,
But it's not too obvious.
I've seen
though.
it.
I don't
They
know.
had
seen
the
him.
LeBron
No.
storyline of him being one of
No,
the
right.
greatest games of all time. If the NBA was going to rig anything, I think it would have been game one is
Right.
where they ended up pushing it LeBron's way if they were going to rig it in that direction.
I've seen him win two with Matthew Dellavedova and a young Tristan Thompson.
They didn't have the Warriors were younger, less experienced,
were-
and did not have Kevin Durant.
But they were still the Warriors. to
Dellavedova
me.
played defense.
Andre Iguodala was playing insane
Del-
basketball. Steph was Steph. Clay
So was
Clay.
Matthew Dellavedova. He was playing insane basketball for his
I wouldn't say
caliber.
insane.
For his caliber of player that he is, he is a
He was
third
playing
string point
very
guard.
good.
He's a
playing
third.
very good.
He's currently a third string point guard
Listen,
for the Milwaukee
I was on the
Bucks.
Delhi train. Don't tell me what Delhi did.
I'm just saying.
I almost bought a Delhi jersey. Just kidding, I never did.
Jeez. So you think they're gonna win two? You think they're gonna?
You
win
got
the
you got
next
Warriors
two?
in 6.
I have Warriors in 5.
You just
But
said that.
I said I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled
okay,
out 2.
okay.
But I think they're gonna win in 5. I think LeBron will get one in Cleveland.
Oh, I forgot to bring my broom into the studio today. So Joe,
Missed opportunities.
exactly. But Joe, so you what do you think?
I still am gonna go with 5. I have a weird feeling again that LeBron's just gonna have a game, or somebody else is actually gonna step up somehow.
There's nobody else stepping up for this team.
but it's just a thing. I don't know.
You know
if
who
they,
would be?
if they don't change their lineup or anything, yeah, they're gonna get.
You know,
swept.
2 things I would like to see them do: add to their rotation. Start Kendrick Perkins. Start Tyronn Lue at point
Okay,
guard.
time to move on. Starting Kendrick Perkins after the year 2008.
After he tried to
we'll
s-
get nothing done.
After he tried to trip Steph Curry.
That was the
another-
best play he's had all
that's
year.
Another dramatic thing.
The best play he's had the last couple of years.
Jeez.
Start Kendrick Perkins, man.
So we're severely. We talked a lot of finals there, but I want to touch on. We won't go too much in depth, but the Brian Colangelo and the Philadelphia 76ers burner account fiasco. In case you're not aware, currently Brian Colangelo, who is the president of basketball operations and the general manager for the Philadelphia 76ers, coming off 52 wins, he is being investigated for having 6 Twitter burner accounts where he may have or allegedly leaked intel to the media and talked poorly about his players to the media. It baffles me. You're a president of basketball operations. You're a general manager. If this is true, there's some, and I guess the phone numbers to the Twitter accounts were linked to Colangelo and his wife. So whether it's him or his wife, it's mind-boggling to me that this is even a story coming from the Colangelos, who, Joey, that's a basketball family.
Do we have a status? What's Brian and his wife's relationship like right now?
From what I
Do
know,
we know?
currently they're still married, happily married.
So she's not made some devious plan where
But I
she
un-
set up these burner account.
It's the Sam Hinkie.
I'm trying to
Sam
investigate
Hinkie
myself.
looks better every single day,
I
month.
know.
Shouts out to Sam Hinkie for
But-
coming up with the greatest plan in NBA history.
Joey, I want to ask you, and I'm going to ask Malik the same question. Put yourself in Colangelo's shoes.
I'm not
You
sure
currently
if I
have
wanna do that.
you currently have 6 Twitter accounts. Whether it's for finding out your daily information, what's going on in Philadelphia, what's going on with the weather. Are you going to do what Brian Colangelo allegedly had done?
Me, I wouldn't, but I wouldn't even do that.
That was a reluctant. I wouldn't.
I wouldn't do that normally either, though. Do you know what he said about the players?
Yeah. So for Markelle Fultz, they talked about how poor his jump shot was because he brought in a family friend to help his jump shot, and
Well, that's just the truth.
Yeah, that's a known fact.
well, at the time it wasn't a known fact. These are all this is information coming out before it became apparent.
Okay.
And then the Joel Embiid, what was it? Joel is a crybaby, and he is not fit to be a leader, and he is just scared that he knows Ben Simmons is going to be the true leader of this team.
Now, was he sending these to people or just
And I'm
putting them out?
I'm paraphrasing.
Was he sending these to people or just putting these out?
He was sending these. He's putting them out and directing them to Philadelphia media.
How old is Brian Colangelo?
58,
Oh, okay.
59.
If he was over 60, I was about to say
He's
maybe,
right there.
Maybe he social media. He really doesn't know what he's doing.
No, but you're leaking. You're leaking.
I think he definitely knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's a GM.
So
he knows.
I'll say kind of like I did before the show.
Trying
I
to give
think
him some benefit of the doubt.
No.
as myself personally, I would never do that kind of thing. I don't really use Twitter that much to begin with, though. But on a personal level, I kind of understand it.
Why? How do you understand this?
Because if you
Joey's
have
on
these,
my team.
if you have these things and you like understand what's going on with your team and you have like these frustrations, every once in a while, everybody wants to vent, right?
Why
You
do
just
you
want to
add-
vent to somewhere. Maybe he doesn't have somebody.
No, but why? Why is he tweeting it to members of the Philadelphia media? Like,
Because
why
then,
is he just
because then it's out in public, and then everybody gets it, and then everybody starts talking about it, and then it's actual known fact. It's not like he's actually saying false statements. Yes, it's wrong, obviously. Personally, I kind of understand it.
He even leaked that Jahlil Okafor, his trade. You know that trade that got rescinded to New
Yeah.
Orleans? Before that information came out, the Twitter account, I forget which Twitter account it was, said, I have a bad feeling. I think Okafor's trade sounds like Okafor's trade is getting red flag due to injury. The guy needs to stay healthy or just something like that.
I would have tweeted out about Jahlil Okafor too.
But so to finish my point before we get to Malik, personally, I understand it. I get it. Professionally, it's completely insane and wrong and not appropriate in the slightest. But I kind of understand it, I guess. But it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't know what he gets out of it.
That's what I don't understand.
Other than, like I said, he's venting to Twitter media.
Malik.
Joey won this whole thing with maybe he doesn't have anybody. That took the whole thing. Maybe he just doesn't have someone.
He doesn't have somebody to vent to. I mean, he's a super
Does
rich.
he have a wife?
He's a super. Yeah, we
Yeah,
just
that's
said.
what we just
Yeah,
said.
that's what-
We're not.
But I'm just saying, like, you know, you're a
I'm
G.
sorry.
Oh, you're good.
You're the
good.
GM of
You're
the
good.
Sixers. You probably have lots of money, a big house. You're probably always in meetings and talking and all over the place, traveling all the time. You know, his wife's at home having a good time. You know, just sipping on some wine or something. But who is he talking to? You
Sit
he
down,
ta-
drink some wine with your wife. Vent what
Well, he
happened.
doesn't have time. That's what I'm saying.
Maybe he
He's
was.
got to vent to
maybe-
Twitter.
Maybe he was venting to his wife, and his wife tweeted out everything. I
Right.
mean, in the end, it doesn't matter if it was your wife. It's still because of you, information got leaked.
Right.
So in the end, you'll have to take the fall for it.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see where this investigation
And it should
goes.
end rather soon. It sounds like it's coming to a close.
On a serious note, yeah, he's an idiot if he did it. he's an idiot.
Yeah. That doesn't make any sense. His team's on the up and up, and he's
He didn't trust
Ruining-
the process.
ruining his.
He did not trust
He
the
didn't trust
Positions.
the process. Moving on.
smooth transitions.
Joey.
Detroit basketball.
It's that time of the show. Let's talk some Piston hoops. Not really hoops, more front office meetings and interviews.
What is this, week 5, 6, 7?
I didn't check my my daily tracker, but I believe we're at like day 58 of not having a head coach or front office.
Anybody?
Yeah.
Really? We have an advisor.
Ed Stefanski.
Sounds like the Pistons should keep a diary because they don't know. Day 58, we finally interviewed a coach.
One portion of news before we get into the head coaching candidates. Jeff Bauer, GM under Stan Van Gundy's reign, has officially parted ways with the team, said to be mutual. He kind of was leading the way in this draft process that has now been taken over by Stefanski. What's your take? I think he was a dead man walking as soon as Stan went out the door. There's
Thank
nothing more there.
goodness.
I was worried when they said he had a chance to stay with
Just get the whole regime out of there. I'm cool with it. Let's just move on from everything and totally reset.
Malik, are you inclined to Jeff Bauer? Do you think he got a bad spot here?
I completely agree with Joe. He had to go.
You know, he was part of not drafting Donovan Mitchell,
That's true.
the best rookie since Michael Jordan.
We need to have that. We should have captured that
I can't
audio.
I can't put that on him.
I need to go back and
We need to capture that audio
Clip
so
that.
every time some outlandish statement comes up, click. But we do have finalists for the head coaching job. Before we get in the finalists, there's some interesting names that they talked to. I don't know if we were able to talk about. They interviewed Juwan Howard, Miami Heat assistant.
no, I don't think we talked about any of them.
Jason Kidd got an interview. Jay Loranga, assistant to the Boston Celtics, who I think should have maybe even gotten more of a look. He got an interview. Am I missing anybody outside the candidates? Becky Hammond did not get an interview. There was
It was just a rumor.
There was just a rumor that they were interested. She never got an interview. The three finalists right now is former player and Spurs assistant Ime Udoka, who is said to have had a fantastic couple of interviews and impressed the front office. He's currently 40, and being a former player, I think that plays a benefit to him because I think front office would look at that and be like, oh, he can connect with our players. What's your opinion of Udoka, Joe, if you have any?
I don't really know much about him, I'll be honest. But yeah, just going off of that, I think, like I've said before, I think younger guys are starting to make their way into head coaching positions, and former players always seem to mesh well with the players themselves. Obviously, knowing how the locker room is and those kind of things, it's usually a little bit more relatable for the players, which is good.
Malik, do you have any opinion on Ime Udoka?
Same thing. I don't know much about him, but learning that he's 40 years old. Players today do like a younger coach, a newer philosophy of basketball. A lot of dudes don't respond well to older philosophies and older coaches.
And we saw that with
example
Stan.
George Karl.
And Stan Van Gundy, too.
Yeah.
He's the old school style coaching. Didn't work out well. Yelling at these professional athletes that make more money than you. I don't think that's going to help connect. And Udoka being a former player plays huge, I think, in his camp. Moving on to Malik's favorite Pistons candidate, John Beilein.
Surprise out of left field.
He got a meeting with ownership before any interview, then got 2 interviews. So all this nonsense about him doing this to leverage for a new contract with Michigan, to me, that's baloney.
At this point.
It's baloney, Malik.
At this point.
At this
That's a
point,
serious thing.
he is a serious candidate. And even if he doesn't get this job with the Pistons, let's say they go Dwayne Casey, which seems to be that they're leaning that direction, you have to worry about this every summer, Malik. I'm going to you because you are our resident Michigan diehard fan. We're all Michigan fans here, but you're on another level than us. You have to worry about this every single year, Malik. How do you feel that your favorite professional team is courting your favorite coach?
Every summer.
I'm terrified, to be honest. I knew from the beginning it wasn't about money because John Beilein isn't that type of guy. He's not the type of dude that demands money. I can't be mad at him because at this point in his career, he's only coached. I'm not sure if he's coached high school basketball, but he's coached college basketball his entire career. He's never gone into the professional area, the NBA, and
But there are plenty of guys that have never gone to the NBA.
true. But
Malik, you look.
Maybe
Some of the best, Izzo, Krzyzewski, like they've never gone to the NBA.
Malik, you look like
They're
you
doing
were.
just fine.
You look like you were caught a little off guard by this.
yes, I was.
I
When
mean,
this,
if
when
you
this
were,
came out,
if you weren't caught off guard, I think that's the problem.
Yeah, I
When this
agree with
came
that.
out,
It kinda shocked me
yeah.
too.
I tried to make myself believe it was a money thing, but I knew it wasn't a money thing.
But
Well, you don't know that.
doesn't it make
It's
you?
still
I'd be
could
very.
be.
It could be, but I'd be very surprised
No, yeah,
if it was.
I understand.
Doesn't
I still expect him to stay, but
let's say he accepts the job with the Pistons. Does the wound hurt as bad because it's with the Pistons opposed to another team, or does it still hurt?
I think it
So
hurts
just the
worse.
same.
John
'cause
Beeline
he
is a great coach, so I'll be happy he's with the Pistons.
Well,
He knows how to take talent that's not at the highest caliber and knows how to develop talent like that.
he plays an NBA style offense.
He does, but Michigan basketball is one
Would
of the
be in
main things I
trouble.
have going.
I think it's
For
funny that
For my love of Michigan right now.
the University of Michigan shelves out all this money to Jim Harbaugh. I understand football is a bigger money grab than basketball, but to shoo John Beeline under the rug he gets paid what, a quarter of what Harbaugh does a year, pretty close. Beeline needs to be making at least half, for how successful his teams have been. They've surpassed the success of Michigan football. You can say that easily too. With the last 3 or 4 years, they made deep runs in the tournament,
Easily. Yeah.
accumulating maybe more money
Easily.
than the football program with how deep they've been going.
Right?
Each year.
At this moment, Michigan
Yeah.
is a basketball school.
I agree with you completely, and I think it's a disservice to the University of Michigan fans that they let Beeline walk out that door if his reason is solely for money.
Give him whatever
It's a
he
disservice.
wants.
He's one of the best college basketball coaches out there,
Completely agree with you.
and it wouldn't make sense for him to leave. Again, I think,
Like you said, you brought up Izzo before the show started. You brought up your Izzo point.
yeah, but like, it doesn't make sense. Like, he's got such a good thing going. I don't know why you would leave Michigan now. And the other thing goes back to what I said about Becky Hammond. I don't know if any first NBA head coach would want this job to be their first NBA job.
I mean,
Which makes it even weirder.
I feel like it's better for maybe his family. He stays in the state of Michigan. There's no moving really. Maybe, a couple minutes down the road, but you're still centralized in the state of Michigan, you know?
I mean, yeah, if he's committed to the NBA to going that way.
If you're going to move
obviously.
into the professional ranks, I think this does make sense for John.
But I think at the same time, like, I don't know. It would really crush Michigan as a program, obviously.
Oh, definitely.
They have to throw him whatever he wants and more.
But they won't.
Charles Matthews is coming back. He just got a 4-star player to sign. Everything is rolling.
And I feel like this would have to be another longer term contract for the Pistons, because you're not going to see like John Beeline potential in 2 to 3 years. I don't think, not with this team. I know you guys kind of think a little bit differently, but I've always been on the thought that this team is going to take a long time to get rolling.
I don't think so if Dwayne Casey's the head coach. I think Dwayne Casey is the perfect coach for this job. I think he would get this team into the middle pack of the playoff field. I truly do think he could make this team into his 5-6 seed.
Oh,
They've had the talent to do it.
I definitely
have the
agree
talent.
that Dwayne Casey is a better fit for this job.
And at 61, he's 4 years younger than John. I mean, he has the Coach of the Year title voted on by the NBA coaches, 59 wins. He changed his system. He develops players. Sounds like Vince Ellis of the Detroit Free Press has said that the leader in the clubhouse seems to be Dwayne Casey. I think it's inevitable.
I think it should be.
I agree with you. I think you're taking a risk with John Beeline or Udoka. I mean, it could, and with risk comes strong possibility, strong positives, but also strong negatives. You never know which direction you're going to go. Casey's that safe choice. Casey's going to, if you're going to keep this team, we've said this a couple times on the show now, if you are intent on keeping Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond, and Reggie, you need a coach ready to take them to the next level. Casey's that guy.
Agreed.
Moving on. 4 minutes left in the show. Touch on a few things. Former Piston great Richard Rip Hamilton. He's a fan of Grayson Allen, Duke combo guard. He thinks he's shooting up draft boards, thinks he can go about 15, 20. I think that's kind of high. all coming down to his combine stats and athleticism. Malik's huge on that. He's a big combine guy.
Do not believe what this man is saying.
So naturally, he thinks Grayson Allen's going top 5. But no, does that interest you guys at all?
I mean, a little bit. I think I've said it a couple times. I think he's underrated in this draft. I think that it makes sense for him to be moved up a little bit. I don't know about that high, but people forget about how athletic this kid is. And my brother always loves to remind me, he won high school dunk contests. But he does. He has athleticism that people don't think about. They always think about his dirty plays, which, I mean, is a little bit understandable, but he's a good shooter. Again, he's got the athleticism. He played at Duke for 4 years. I think he's a smart player overall, besides his dumb plays. So I don't think it would be a surprise for him to be in the first round.
Oh, no.
But
no,
I don't
yeah.
think he'll move up too much. I think he'll be late first round. But you never know. Somebody might like that 4-year veteran.
And people fall in love with certain players for whatever reason, and they end up selecting him because they want that guy. All right. Well, that's our show. That was an action-packed show. I mean, we talked a lot of finals there. Talked on Colangelo's secret burner accounts. Only a little bit of Pistons there, but we'll probably get some news on them. Next show, we'll probably have a head coach. I think they're hiring a head coach before they hire their GM, which is a little odd, but
NBA Finals might be over.
They will be over by next week, so we'll break down games 3 and 4 for you.
More draft talk next week.
Oh yeah, tons of draft talk.
Very soon.
Get ready for your summer league. No, that's not summer league yet, but yeah. We'll see you guys next week. See ya.
Bye.
Beeline, don't go.